Shutterstock Music.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of Black College Experience. I am one half of your Black College Experience team, Derek Thomas, down here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And I have with me the founder of Black College Experience in Atlanta, Georgia, Keisha Kelly. What's going on, Kels?
Hey, everybody. Welcome to another weekend of Black College Experience, another weekend of recapping of everything that has gone on in this week. A lot has gone on. Happy to be back on for yet another week. It is, I don't know, the weather is back and forth here in Atlanta. It's rain one minute, then it's dry the next. I don't know. It's hot one minute, then it's cold the next, it seems like. So, I don't know. Looking forward to this upcoming week and all the different stuff that's coming up. Now, last week we had on Cecilia Towns, so I call this part one and two. Last week we had on Cecilia Towns. She is a Howard University alumna. She did play tennis at Howard as well. This week we have on her brother, which is a Morgan State tennis coach and also men's coach of the year, Matthew Towns. So we're going to have him on in the second half. So we'll go ahead and just kick this thing off. We're going to keep it flowing because we know a lot of stuff is going on. So where do you want to start?
Well, you got to start with the legends in the College Football Hall of Fame. That's the first thing I want to talk about with football season on the horizon this June.
Before you start with that,
okay.
I didn't realize until I looked at those 12 names how many people were coming out of Valley. I did not realize that.
Why do you think I want to start there, man?
Exactly. We'll let you take that because that's your school.
We're not known.
You handle that.
We're not known for our winning tradition in football.
Y'all took over there.
But when we have had a player make it, they have done very, very well. So we don't have a high draft percentage, but when we get in the league, we stay there and we make noise. We have college legends that make noise. And just to start down the line, I'm not going to start with my Valley folks, but the headliner is no other than the late, great Steve Aaron McNair out of Alcorn State University. I don't have to recap his highlights. Everyone knows who Steve McNair is, what he did at Alcorn, what he did in the NFL, the Hand Me the Heisman campaign, which I think he probably should have won, by the way, you know what I'm saying, but as far as what he did on the football field. Up next, out of my alma mater, Ashley Ambrose, out of Valley, defensive back, a 1991 first-team All-American, first-team All-SWAC selection. Vincent Brown, also defensive coordinator for Howard. The Undertaker, the original Undertaker, linebacker, 1987 first-team All-American, leading the NCAA in tackles in 1986 and 87. Set NCAA All-Division record with 570 career tackles, two-time All-SWAC selection, who led MVSU in tackles his last 3 seasons. Also, a longtime NFL New England Patriot. Parnell Dickerson, quarterback, 1975, first-team All-American, Pittsburgh Curry National Player of the Year. William Dillon out of Virginia Union. Bob Gaddis, also out of Mississippi Valley State University. That's the end of the players. The coaches, Roy Hubbard out of Florida A&M, 1974 to 1985. Eddie Hurt, Virginia Lynchburg, 1925 to 28, and Morgan State, 1930 to 1959. Dwight Reed out of Lincoln, Missouri, 1949 to 1971. Gideon Smith out of Hampton, 1920 to 1940. Joe Taylor, coached at Howard, 1983, Virginia Union, 1984 to 91. Hampton, 1992 to 2007, and Florida A&M, 2008 to 2012. So we want to say congratulations to all of the, the legends on the College Football Hall of Fame ballot. I guess we'll figure out once the votes are tallied up how many legends we will have entering the hall. Before we move forward, we know Steve McNair is going. We know he's going. He's the first ballot College Football Hall of Fame, in my opinion, Kills. There's no way that he does not get in. He should have been in by now, but I think he's going to be nominated, and he's already nominated, be elected to the College Football Hall of Fame. What do you think about that?
You know, when it initially came out, the first thing everybody said was long overdue, which we can all agree
Right.
on. It's absolutely refreshing to see that even in his death, he's getting his due worth. And we can all agree that probably, you know, we put Jerry Rice, we put we Walter Payton, but Steve McNair or Aaron McNair, he definitely noteworthy, definitely worth this shot. So we know, I'm going to say beyond a doubt that it'll definitely go through. But I have to go back to this. When I looked at this list and I saw that many people from Valley, now it did two things to me. One, what can we do to get back to that space? And two, I didn't realize it was that many people from Valley. Because for people that don't know me, you have a thing for women's sports. I have a thing for vintage sports. So I'm one of those. I like the old 1945, 55, 65. I like old sports. I like old football, old basketball. I like old sports. I like looking back at old bios and watching old bios on NFL Network. I love old stuff, old sports rather. Right. So to look back at that and see like that tradition and the women coach, looking back at those traditions, and you help but to say like, how do we get back to those places? So I was like, okay, I want to know how Derek feels because y'all seem to have most people on the team.
Well, back in those days, you had the superstar or the elite African American talent. You know, were going to HBCUs back then. We don't have the case now. In my HBCU's case, you know, of course, we don't have the athletic budget to attract higher profile athletes. If for Valley to get back to having individuals make it to the Hall of Fame and put a football team on the field that's competitive, people are going to want to have to come to Valley. And also our alums are going to have to support our school more, myself included. And it's just going to take a remarkable coach, and we have an amazing coach, and Coach Vincent Dancy, his first year, a Jackson State Tiger alum, looking to change the stars of Valley and turn it around to where we can field a competitive team and potentially have some future Hall of Famers going forward. A name that may be on the list a little later, even though he only played 2 years at Valley, Corey Holmes, came to Valley in 2 years and tore up the SWAC. Don't necessarily know if he'll get a nod for the College Football Hall of Fame, but he should get a nod for the SWAC Hall of Fame because he came and, you know, rewrote the record books at Valley. Came out of Mississippi at the community college and just tore it up. I would like to see my alma mater do well in sports. I am tired of us being the doormat, but of course we have to be able to compete with schools like your alma mater, Southern, Grambling, Alcorn, and Jackson State. Beat Jackson State for the first time in I don't know how long, a couple of years ago. Have been competing with them on the football field as far as not getting blown out for the past almost 9 to 10 years, which is unheard of. We always got destroyed by Jackson State almost every year when we play them. So we are trying to be more competitive, and hopefully Coach Dancy could turn things around for us.
And I do agree. You know, just getting back to that competitiveness, getting back to that place where you can actually compete, where you're not the doormat, is always the thing, because we're always excited when the football season comes up, every season comes up, we're always excited. But, you know, that's always been my thing for Valley to get back to that place where they are competitive, where they are able to compete, where they are able to do stuff, do as everyone else does. So, you know, I think we'll see what this upcoming season is going to be like. You just have to continue to just build in that same sense.
Exactly.
Okay, so moving on. Where do you want to go next?
Well, up next, of course, we know baseball season just ended in the SWAC, and also still ongoing in college. But the Major League baseball just had its draft, and we have 4 HBCU prospects who got drafted. Probably going to have many more who sign and go to the minor leagues to try to carve out a professional baseball career. I just want to highlight 4 of the draftees out of Winston-Salem State. The San Francisco Giants selected Randy Norris in the 19th round with the 556th pick. He was a center fielder. Was the first HBCU player selected in this year's draft. He's the first WSSU player selected in the Major League Draft since Ray Chadwick in 1985 and Michael Wimbush in 1982. Coming off his 3rd season with the Rams. Up next, we have out of Prairie View. In the 26th round, the Anaheim Angels selected Darian Williams, of course, out of Prairie View with the 781st pick. Williams is a senior right-handed pitcher. The Philadelphia Phillies selected Jalen Smith in the 29th round. Smith is the high school signer who had committed to Prairie View. So this young man has a decision to make. Is he going to go on to Prairie View, or is he going to try and make a living playing professional baseball? Some people may say that's a no-brainer decision. You're going to make the money. But it's possible he could improve his draft standing by going and playing at Prairie View. But we'll see. Up next, we have, and you posted out of Grambling, Arizona Diamondbacks called the name of Marshawn Taylor from Grambling State. He's a shortstop for the Tigers. In the 28th round, the 849th pick, he's the shortstop and bats left and throws right. Now, you posted this, Kels, because this is in your stomping grounds. Alabama State's Ray Hernandez was drafted by the Atlanta Braves in the 29th round. He was a third baseman for the Hornets. And, I'm an old school Atlanta Braves fan, so I would like to see this young man do well with the Braves, and see how his career goes on. And, I'm pretty sure we're going to have more HBCU prospects signing on with teams trying to carve out professional league careers in baseball, as we do in all sports. When we get to the SEAC, I didn't know we even had this, but there's a new softball league who drafted an HBCU player. Since we're on the draft, Brianna Billy out of Benedict was drafted by the Mobile, USA, out of the American Softball Association. I went to their website, Kills, and unfortunately, they didn't have the players listed by college. But I'm going to go through that draft list and see if we had any more HBCU standouts signed. So it's a good thing for HBCU athletes who play softball, because now you have an option to potentially play pro softball. So I think that's awesome. Congratulations to Billy on her opportunity. She was known as a base stealer, hardest person to throw out when stealing bases. So she's a dynamic athlete. So congratulations to her and all of the HBCU prospects selected in the Major League Baseball draft, Kels.
So now, while we're here on the baseball, I want to go back to Ray Hernandez, is coming out of Alabama State. Mm-hmm. Of course, son, here. And today he did. Well, he officially signed his papers. I think yesterday he officially signed his papers, so he is official. But the funny thing is, to show you how small the world is, there's a guy, a white guy that works in my office, and I noticed that we would have conversation about, just not this guy, we would always have conversation about sports. Mm-hmm. And somehow he asked me what school did I go to, and I told him, and we were talking about sports, only to find out that his daughter played softball for Alabama State.
Awesome.
Well, here's the crazy thing about it. She just got married a couple of months ago. She got married to a guy named Jorge that played baseball for Alabama State, that is playing minor baseball. And the guy, Ray Hernandez, that just got drafted by the Braves, was at her wedding, because the girlfriend was in the wedding. So it's like a small circle, and I was like, this is crazy how small the world is.
Exactly.
Because I was talking about it as I was reading, and he said, where did you find the information? Well, kind of like we find everything else. And I said, it's just a small circle. It really is a small world. But again, congratulations to all of those people that have been drafted from Winston-Salem, from Grambling, Prairie View. I'm waiting to see what he's going to do, because at this point, you have a major decision. Do you go to college, or do you want to go play pro baseball? And just like you said, his draft stock could rise. He could really work on and raising that. That's a major decision to make. And then again, from Alabama State. So congratulations again. Now, let's take this commercial break because I do want to hop into something before we have Coach Towns come on.
All right, we'll be right back at this commercial break in 31 seconds.
I already knew that I was going to go to college, from a young age. I definitely want to major in political science. After that, I'm going to get my law degree. Then I'm going to come back to Detroit, boost the economy, become the mayor or something, try to make the situation better for other people. I feel like I owe it to the city. I'm determined. It's going to happen. My name is Justin, and I am your dividend.
All right, we're back with more Black College Experience. And Kels, so what do you want to jump into next?
Well, I want to go here. I want to talk about this whole thing with Coach Davis. For people that don't know, Mike Davis has built a tremendous basketball program over at Texas Southern. And it came as a surprise to me because, as we both know, things happen in our sleep. We're sleeping and stuff is still happening. So when you wake up and the first headline or something that hits your phone or text or something is Mike Davis is leaving, I always get these things and I always have to go look at like 5 different sources before I actually believe it. I don't know why. But when I see the different sources and I see the congratulations, it's like no. So we look at Coach Mike Davis, whose son had committed. What was his first commitment to? His first, was it
Houston?
Texas? Okay, so he committed to Houston. And he committed to go to Texas Southern?
Well, he committed. He was committed to Houston, decommitted, and committed to Texas Southern. Yes.
Right. So now his father is leaving Texas Southern to go to Detroit. In my humble opinion, I hate to see us lose that kind of talent in the SWAC. What are your opinions on that?
Well, here's the thing. I remember when Mike Davis got hired by Texas Southern, and I had followed his career as from assistant at Indiana till he became the head coach in Indiana following Bobby Knight. He's a tremendous coach. I didn't expect for him to stay at Texas Southern as long as he has, but since he's here, a coach like this raises the profile for the SWAC and of course for the school that he coaches with his background and his pedigree. I hate to see him leave because of that, because you want to have if he's going to leave, you want to hire another coach that's just as high profile. Texas Southern has made a history of hiring coaches with high profile. The football coach, Mike Haywood, has a high profile. The basketball coach has a high profile. Pedigree coming from the FBS and Division I top level. I hate that he's leaving. And I also just reported that that was in my topic list that he hit a snag. The athletic director for Detroit Mercy is saying that he didn't have the job, but it's been announced by Jim Hicks on the Chop Shop that he was going to Detroit Mercy, but according to this article, Robert Vowles, the athletic director of Detroit Mercy, tells the Detroit Free Press that the reports are erroneous. So if he's not going to Detroit Mercy, perhaps Texas Southern can convince him to stay. And when someone comes out saying that don't have the job and knowing that you're going to get the job, but they just want to be the person to announce it, that ought to show you where you belong. Texas Southern has been good to Mike Davis. Mike Davis has been good to Texas Southern. I would love to see him stay and continue building on what he's building at Texas Southern, winning the first NCAA tournament game, which I think could have more in Texas Southern's future if he decides to stay and try to recruit the athlete that can get Texas Southern over the hump. And also, if Texas Southern continues to recruit high-profile athletes, the rest of the SWAC will have to follow suit if they want to compete in the SWAC. So he helps the SWAC. Him leaving hurts the SWAC. Him staying.
I agree.
Hurts.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I totally agree. And and just like you said, it's kind of like a catch-22. It's kind of like a curse, and it's like a gift and a curse. You want them to win, you want them to do well, so they're competitive. But then when they win, do well, they take other jobs, and it's like, you want them to stay, but you want them to go because you want to see what they can do at another school on another level. And we all know this is what these programs are about. When they get to a certain level, this is what they do. You know, they move on, and it's a business move. And I have to remind myself so many times, even in professional sports, it's just business. It's just what they do. They don't owe any of us explanations as to why they move on. It was the same thing with Coach Walker at Clark. The same thing with Coach Jordan, because Jordan went with Coach Walker. So it is. We hate it, but it's just business.
Right. And, you know, looks like his if it's on Wikipedia, it don't necessarily mean it's true, but his profile on Wikipedia has been updated that he is the head coach of Detroit Mercy. Looks like that war of words between the athletic director and Texas Southern may have just been smoke. But I guess we'll see. You know, Detroit Mercy is a Division I basketball program out of the Horizon League. I just wish he would have stayed. I mean, I just think he would have. You know, he started his coaching career at the HBCU Miles in 1989 and 1990. Rose all the way up to be the head coach of Indiana, and then the head coach of UAB, and then the head coach of Texas Southern. And I just wish he would have stayed to continue building on what he built on at Texas Southern. I think this is a sad day for the SWAC and a sad day for Texas Southern that Mike Davis, if he's really gone. So.
Now, let me ask you something off of the grid. I know I did not include this. This is definitely an impromptu.
All right,
I've been reading. I'm sorry?
Let me have it.
Oh, no. I've been reading, and I've been kind of seeing it. I don't know if you saw it, too. The whispers of a new SWAC commission, but I haven't saw anything. You heard it. I saw some people. I saw a couple of names. But I'm like, I don't know it to be true. Have you heard anything about a new SWAC commissioner? I know they're looking, they're on a search, but I haven't seen any information dropped about a new commissioner as of yet.
No, I haven't. I'm eager to see who's going to be the new commissioner of the SWAC. Of course, we all know Dewar Sharp has been removed. We've had an interim commissioner since he left. I'm hoping whoever comes in has a clear-cut vision to improve the SWAC. Bring the SWAC back to where it used to be, where we were the premier HBCU conference. We've kind of lost a little bit of our luster to the MEAC. I think we can regain what we once had. We have top-notch academic and athletic programs all throughout our conference. We definitely have the alumni base. We have the fan base. All our institutions are improving facility-wise. Alumni is giving back to their schools in the $1 million amounts. I think your Jaguars, didn't you all just have a fundraising drive? I think, or is it coming up?
Yes, it is.
Right. So whoever is chosen to be the new leader of the SWAC, hope he can build off of what the previous commissioner did, improve the league as a whole. I hope the first thing that he or she does, is bring back the SWAC championship game. That is the first decision that I hope that they make whenever they are in the fold. I think that is a good thing for the SWAC. I do understand with the Celebration Bowl, with the MEAC not having a championship game, that may put the SWAC at a competitive disadvantage, but I think it's still good for the SWAC. I can't wait to see who it is. I'm excited to find out who it will be. Because we need to have that leadership in place so we can move forward as a conference. Because because this is, even though we cover all HBCUs, we are SWAC born and bred. So I grew up a Jackson State Tiger fan, and I grew into a Mississippi Valley State Delta Devil alumni and fan. So I'm hoping we get some good leadership. But speaking of leadership, hopefully our guest will be on soon. We have some athletic directors on the move, Kels. And most notably, someone who I grew up with, someone who I've known for a long time, and hopefully we'll be able to get him on the show soon. He is a SWAC graduate, came from the SWAC, stayed in the SWAC. One second. Oh, okay. Well, I didn't even hear the my bad, Kels. I didn't even hear the notification that he was on. So yes, we do. We'll talk about that after our guest. So Kels, go ahead and introduce our guest for this evening.
Sorry, Coach, because we get the rambling and talking about everything else. We was caught up in a whole other thing, talking about initiatives and everything else. You got to pardon us. But once again, we do have Towns Part 2. That's Towns Part 2. We had Towns Part 1 last week. Now we got the other part. We got the Coach of the Year / women's tennis coach, women's tennis championship coach. Let me add that championship there. We don't want to discredit nothing you've done. Matthew Bell, Morgan State Bears. How you doing, Coach?
I'm well. Thank you very much. I appreciate you having me here.
How you doing, Coach Towns? Derek Thomas here. I just have one question to start off with.
Yes, sir.
And Kels, I don't know if you're going to ask this question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. You know, being that both you and your sister play tennis, who wins one-on-one?
I mean, growing up, my sister did. She beat me every time until I was probably around 13. Maybe when she went to college even, something like that. So she was a better player growing up. I mean, I haven't played her in a long time. But, she's definitely the best one.
All right. So can she beat
Good
you
answer,
now?
Good answer.
Can she beat you now?
No, probably not. I don't think she plays tennis anymore. I don't think she picked up a racket anymore. She's too busy doing all her other stuff.
Yes, indeed. But we're glad to have you on, and it's amazing to have two individuals from the same bloodline doing what you two are doing. And when it comes to HBCU sports, your sister and her tennis career, and with her law career, and then her advocating for HBCU sports as far as with women, and then you with your coaching career and all the accolades that you have in your young coaching career. Because when I was looking at the team roster, man, you look like you could be a member of the team instead of a coach. So that's
I get stopped every day on campus and them telling me I look like a student.
You know, so I mean, the thing is, for you to be given such an opportunity at such a young age shows your ability and the trust in you that the athletic director from Morgan State showed, and you've rewarded them not only rebuilding the women's and men's teams, just by rebuilding them to a championship level and being a named coach of the year, which I think you're going to continue your success going forward. I just think it's awesome to have such a young coach, HBCU born and bred coach also, doing big things in tennis. Kels, go ahead.
I appreciate it.
Coach, I guess I'll start it off here. You've had different areas, different roles, different things that you've done between, I'll say, in this coaching realm. What made Morgan State the choice? Because I always want to ask people, how did you decide on this place? What made you say, okay, Morgan State is my choice?
To play or to coach?
Both. Both.
Okay.
Let's start with play first, and then we'll go to coach.
You said player first and then coach?
Yeah, let's go to play first and then coach.
Okay. As a player, Morgan wasn't like a top option for me at the time. I didn't know a whole lot about it. To be honest, my uncle went to Morgan, and my best friend at the time, we grew up together playing tennis. He was already coming on the scholarship, and he wanted me to come up. And he said, Matt, our coach wants to meet you. He really likes you, and I came to take a visit, find the scholarship the next week. As far as coaching, I didn't really have a plan to get into college coaching the way I am now. When I finished playing in school, I just started coaching junior tennis around the area and stuff. And I helped out a year at Hopkins. And when I helped out a year at Hopkins, I kind of felt like, okay, this is great. Like I could really fall in love with college tennis coaching. But it's at PWI, and I didn't really feel as accepted or wanted. So I just kept coaching. Didn't really. I left Hopkins after a year and just kind of coached around in the area still. And I got the call about Morgan. And obviously because I played here, I just felt like as a player, it was a lot of opportunity that we had, and we never were able to capitalize on it for whatever reason. And so I always knew in the back of my mind we had a lot of potential to do a lot of good things at Morgan. And so when the previous AD, my old boss, gave me a call and asked was I interested in coming and helping out, it was really perfect timing, and I knew we could do something special.
So Coach Towns, what was it like coaching at a PWI versus coaching at a HBCU?
Differences. Well, one, I think I need to say this first. At Hopkins, I was the assistant, and so at Morgan, I was the head. And so that, I think those two things caused a different experience as well. But at a PWI at Hopkins, I mean, I just didn't feel as if I was helping my people as much as I could, if that makes sense. I didn't mind being at Hopkins. I liked it. I loved it. The head coach still, we and him were really good friends. I coached his kids. I didn't feel at home. I didn't feel as comfortable. And that's really, I don't know if that's to say that's the university or anybody at the university making me feel that way. I just felt more at home at Morgan. I was a kid when I walked in there, so I feel like that Morgan would always have a special place for me. I hope that answers the question.
Well, I think your point hits home. I think you would have been successful anywhere you were, but like you said, Morgan State is home for you.
Right.
You're comfortable there. Right. That's where you went to school. That's where you played. So to go back home and do what you're doing, I think it makes you feel even more, I guess you can say, rewarding experience to do it at a place where you have such history, where you have such a connection, and
for sure.
And because when you're somewhere where you don't feel at home, you're not as happy. So you're happy at Morgan because that's home for you, and you're also winning. So when you're happy at home and you're winning, it shows. So, Kels.
Go ahead, Derek.
Well, I was just looking at some of your your accolades or whatever, and I mean, you've done a lot in your young career. I mean, wow. I'm just looking at this resume. I mean, talk about your experience at the Green Spring Racquet Club.
Okay. That was, I got that job right after college. It was one of my first coaching jobs after college, and I ran the junior program. When I first went in, there were a bunch of different coaches that had small little groups of kids, pockets of kids, and I got hired. And the first thing I did, I saw all of the kids all around, and knew that the best way for development is to bring all the kids together. So I actually built a program, an academy at Green Spring. It was called the Tennis Academy at Green Spring. It was for juniors. And so I brought all of the coaches together, and they kind of worked under me. And I formulated the curriculum and everything for the performance of, the athletes. We ran it for 6 years, maybe 7 years, something like that. It was really successful. We had a lot of kids win national tournaments. I had it was like 4 players that I was working with at the time that are in college tennis now, all at like top 50 schools in the nation. So I did a lot of things there, and some of those same things, a lot of those same concept principles that I learned in that situation helped me here with Morgan. So,
right. So, being that you have a history of coaching youth, and as you being a college coach now and former player, you understand the importance of finding talent early. Do you anticipate trying to start some tennis camps to, get kids interested in tennis? Because, of course, we know football and basketball and baseball are the big three sports. But, the skill sets that allow some of the athletes to be great athletes in football, basketball, and baseball, you need them to play tennis. You need to be agile. Yep. You need to have, when you're swinging a bat, you need to have bat speed. You also need to have the ability to swing your racket timely. You have to be in shape. You have to be able to move laterally. So do you think you may want to try and, recruit other athletes that play different sports and you maybe teach them the game of tennis at your camps? What do you think about finding athletes to turn them into tennis players, to give them another alleyway to have a scholarship to play a sport and to receive an education?
So that question is I want to kind of answer that in a few different parts. I think it's like a lot. I think it's a really good question. So the first thing about camps, yes, I am planning on running camps. We got our courts resurfaced at Morgan last summer, and so we're putting together programming now that we're actually going to have throughout the whole year, fall, winter, and spring and summer, to have children that we're bringing in. And the biggest component of that for me right now is not necessarily on the recruiting piece or trying to develop tennis champions. I think that part is easy. What I really want to do is save some lives. I want to go into Baltimore City schools and use our relationship with Morgan to bring some of those kids, to after-school programming. And so what I'm actually doing now is working with a few parents that I've had in the past, and they are putting together curriculum for me. So we have an after-school program we're going to try to open in the fall where we can go around the elementary schools, pick up maybe 30 players, 30 students, elementary school, and they can come and play an hour and a half of tennis. But outside of the hour and a half of tennis, the more important part is the enrichment part, the academic piece, making sure they're fed, making sure they're, cared for and things like that. And then the tennis is the secondary piece. Once we get that rolling, once we can, establish a high number of kids that we can move through the program, then we'll focus on the tennis aspect. I think my biggest responsibility being in this position is not to win championships. That's great. I love it, and I will keep doing it. But I think the biggest component is what I'm supposed to be doing with my platform, and I think that's saving lives of kids in the city. As far as the recruiting piece, I feel, I do feel that that's great. Because eventually I do want to have, some players that we're developing. We have a young lady right now on the team. She's from Baltimore. She just finished her freshman year. She played really well for us. We expect some good things for the rest of her career. But it would be really nice to have some more of those types of homegrown players. Players that I worked with personally before I come to Morgan, to be able to bring some of those kids into the HBCU world. I think as far as the job is concerned with recruiting, at this point still, because I haven't even been there 4 years yet, I think it's important that I focus on winning on the job side and then focus on the outside is on the children. So both are really, really important components to what I'm trying to build. The camp, but more so the enrichment and the after-school portion that I want to have. The tennis is easy. Tennis that takes care of itself. We'll get through that. I want to make a difference in some lives. And even if they aren't going to play college tennis and they're not, going and winning these tournaments, we're making a difference where they actually can go to school. I mean, there's a high school. This is kind of off topic. There's a high school right down the street from Morgan, on the same street as Morgan State, and it has the lowest high school graduation rate in the entire city of Baltimore. And that is depressing to me. And I want to be able to do something to change that. Not necessarily just saying, we need to change, we need to do this, but to use this platform that I have while I'm here at Morgan to establish something like that.
Yes, indeed. And I'm just looking at some of your accolades here, and one thing I want to ask: the never lost a men's division conference match, is that as a player or as a coach?
Coach, that's as a coach. As a player, I might have lost division match, maybe 3 or 4 my career, but as far as a coach, yeah, we haven't lost to any on the men's side. We haven't lost to any of the MEAC teams in our division at all.
That's an awesome streak.
That is.
Yeah, it really is.
I mean, you're creating a little mini juggernaut on both the men's and women's side of tennis, and if you keep building the way that you're building, I think you're going to be making some noise in the NCAA tennis tournament or tennis championships, very, very soon, as you continue to bring in and cultivate your coaching ability and train the athletes. Because here's the thing. We understand HBCUs may have difficulty competing in sports like football and basketball and baseball, the team sports where the talent level is almost ungodly. But in a sport like tennis, when it's one-on-one, mano-a-mano, I mean, you have a better chance at beating somebody from a bigger school. That person is supposed to be supremely talented, but when it's a mano-a-mano type of situation,
that's right. You got to see what you're made of.
Yeah, you have a better chance at beating the bigger schools. In track and field, we had some HBCU talent finish first team All-Americans, beating out a lot of the bigger schools. And I have no doubt that you're gonna bust that door open for Morgan State, and hopefully other HBCU schools can follow suit with the trail you're blazing, building quality tennis programs, because tennis is a sport where you can go professional. I mean, look at the Williams sisters. I mean, if you have talent to play tennis and you're coachable, you can build a nice professional tennis career for yourself. You can come back and coach like you have, building the next great tennis player like you're doing. So I just think it's amazing, like I said, to start off the show, to have 2 HBCU graduates in the same family doing what you and your sisters doing. I just think that's amazing. And because when Kels first told me you all were coming on, I was like, well, they're coming on the same night? I was like, that's going to be an interesting show. And she was like, no, they're coming on week after week. It would have been something to have you both on at the same time. I mean, that would have been a nice back and forth type of thing. Maybe we could do that in the future when we want to talk tennis. When tennis season's going on, we can kind of get you and your sister's opinions on the state of HBCU tennis going forward. I think it's just amazing to have you two doing what you're doing as HBCU graduates, former athletes, and just professionals. I mean, it's just good to see people giving back, and that's what your sister's doing with her business. That's what you're doing, becoming a coach and teaching. I mean, you can't say enough about what it is to come back and give back. I just think it's awesome, and that's what we need more of: coaches like you and individuals like your sister to come back and give back to help the next great student athlete achieve greatness and success.
Well, thank you very much. I mean, I really, I want to, while I'm in this position, I don't know how long I'll be at Morgan, 10 years from now, 20 years from now, who knows? I know the players won't be there, maybe the coaching staff, maybe everyone in the school will be different. I just want to make a difference while we're here. While we're given this opportunity, it would be shameful if we didn't try to do something. And I know my sister feels the same way. We've always, my mother did a really good job of instilling that in us, of reaching back and never ever forgetting and always staying humble. And I think that those qualities, actually, they teach you that in tennis. Earlier you said, you could have a nice tennis career. You can, but it's very difficult. Like, it's very difficult to be professional in tennis and make a living. You know, like the top 50 guys in the world, number 51, you've never heard his name, and he has to pay for his hotels when he's traveling to tournaments.
Oh.
So, I mean, it's tough in that regard, but this industry provides so many different opportunities in so many different realms outside of playing. And the more we get ourselves involved in it, the bigger it grows for our community. So even if we're not creating necessarily tennis champions right now, we're maybe creating a general manager for a program or a program director or someone who's going to be able to coach later on, you know, down the road. And so all of those things are forms that will allow the same kids that we're helping will allow them to give back as well. You know,
I definitely agree. Thank you for that education, because I didn't know that.
Listening.
Go ahead, Kels.
Listening to you talk, Coach, it goes back to the same thing, and it's probably something you said probably before Derek started talking to you again. You talk about giving back to the community. You talk about using your platform to give back to the community. You talk about going back into Baltimore and helping the community. I think a lot of times we get so caught up in what we're doing, we don't reach back. And I think it's beyond words, because what you're doing now is what someone told me from Alcorn, and I'll never forget it. You can't fake passion. What you're doing is no longer a career, it's not a job, it's a passion, because you're reaching back to somebody, pouring into them what someone poured into you. So now it's like, okay, yeah, I can win the championship. I can do all the coaching I want to, but at the end of the day, whose life have I changed? And I think every single day, that's your mission, to change somebody's life every single
100%.
day. You don't find that. You don't find that with people every single day. You have coaches, that's their main thing, to win a championship, to hang a plaque on the walls, to hang a trophy in a case, and they're fine with that. It's all about collecting hardware. But when you can actually say you made a change in somebody's life, and I think 99% of the time is that's what we find in HBCUs, which is another connection. We're trying to make a change in somebody's life as to where other schools may not be on the same page.
Yeah.
Another thing I want to ask you, Coach, the importance, because we talked about this last week with your sister, and I've talked about this with other tennis coaches. A lot of times people don't go into, or they don't apply for scholarships when it comes to tennis. Everybody's, like Derek said, we're looking at the football, the basketball, the baseball, the other sports. How important is it for us for us as HBCU students or people that want to pursue, or people that are going to school and they want to play tennis, to apply for a scholarship in tennis?
So it's extremely important. I mean, I have two full teams right now. Both of my teams are full, and I still have a scholarship on the men's and the women's side that I'm trying to find a player for.
Let me see who I can find if you play tennis. Let me see who I can play tennis. I've been looking for, some people that look like y'all
that.
Can take me.
And
I might can play. Let me see if I can get out there and play. I'm 37.
You might have eligibility issues, but we can work it out.
I'm 37. I don't know if y'all can take me. I'm a little too old, but
But yeah, I mean, I
Derek,
think it's important. Every year it's sort of the same idea. We're looking for, like, recruiting never stops. That's the one thing that everybody, no matter where you are, they should understand. No matter what sport you're in, you should understand that recruiting never stops for any coach. So the main thing is to never stop putting yourself in a position that someone can help you. Like, if you're talking about going to school and you say you want a scholarship, whether you play tennis or not, you're not going to get any scholarship offered to you unless you go out and actually apply for that for the school or for anything particular that you want. So it's the same thing. If these players, I encourage everyone to apply to Morgan. It's not a difficult school to get into. There's enrichment programs that help actually students get into the school, because it's all about our retention. It's what they really, really want to focus on at the school. And so, I mean, I can't stress how much we don't. And black players, especially, like black tennis players, a lot of times I haven't run across. When I find like the black girls on my team and stuff, I have to go out and find them. I'm not getting recruiting emails and phone calls from a lot of players that look like us, and a lot of the times I think it's because of these PWIs. If you're a really good black tennis player in America, and you have, say, a school in the country, say Maryland, in College Park, they're right 40 minutes away from us, and you have an offer from Morgan, you have an offer from University of Maryland. It's a hard sell for us when you speak athletically to compare to Maryland. But when you speak about the other aspects and about the experience that the player will have coming to Morgan and, the representation that they'll feel and the fact that they won't be a number and things like that, when they go to school, that's how we have to start really encouraging the good black tennis players to come to HBCUs, because we are playing tennis. We are playing tennis all over the country. I have 2 girls in the fall that are coming that I'm really, really excited about. 2 freshman girls, one from Vegas and one from LA. And, they're there. They're out there. We just need to make sure that, they're interested as well.
Wow. So you have 2 freshmen coming from the West Coast all the way to Morgan?
Oh, yeah. They're very good too. Both ladies, they're gonna play significant matches for us next year, and we're really excited about both of them.
Well, see, you heard it here, folks.
Got to come all to the East Coast.
Not only he's recruiting, I mean, hey, you're gonna play as a freshman and significantly. I mean, when you have an athlete, because most athletes want to compete. A lot of kids don't want to wait, and that's a good, I guess you can say a positive for your sport is, you can have the individual aspect as far as matches is concerned. You don't have to necessarily redshirt or necessarily wait your turn. Yes, you want to earn your right to play on the court, but if you're talented, I mean, you can have a senior playing their matches, and then you can have a freshman playing their matches, and so on. I mean, I don't know a lot about tennis per se. I watch it sometimes. I can follow a match as far as knowing who's winning or things of that nature. But I mean, I think it's amazing, like I said, the individual aspect of it, and you have these young ladies coming, and you already have a plan for them. They already know what their role was going to be on your team.
Oh yeah.
I mean.
Awesome. That's planning. You can't win a chip if you don't know where to start from. That's I put together a plan for these young ladies, and it worked out. On the guy side, we put the plan together. We came up with 1 match short of a chip. Both teams would have had a championship. We know that if we continue with the plan that we have, the winning that'll come. I mean, these 2 young ladies that are coming in the fall, they could be at a top 50 school, top 75 school with no problem. They're that talented, but they believe in me. They bought what I'm selling, and I hope we can continue with some chips while they're here.
Right, and like I said, it looks like they did buy what you're selling, and buy into the environment of an HBCU versus a bigger school. And some kids, the glitz and glamour of a bigger school is enticing, but the environment that they need is at an HBCU.
Exactly.
And and you can show the success that you've had by your own court success in women's and men's tennis. So, I'm glad to have. I'm sure Morgan State's glad that you came home, and I think your first winning season, from what I'm looking at here, was 2016 was the first winning season since 2008, and that was your senior year as captain.
Exactly. So my senior year was the first year we had a winning season in maybe the history of the school. I'm not sure, but it was definitely over like 20, 30 years. And so we had that one little bright spot was my senior year, and then we didn't have another one until my second year. I got hired the spring 15 season. We had a pretty rough season. Then I was able to recruit over the summer, and that year, 16 was the first year that we had another winning season, and we had another one this year on both teams, men and women.
Yes, indeed. I think that's amazing. I think that's awesome. I can't wait to see what you do next year. I'm going to be watching. And if you all ever play my Delta Devils, man, go easy on my lady Delta Devils and my Delta Devils. Don't beat us up too bad. You know what I'm saying? I mean, take it easy on
we're going to go down. We're going to go down to the HBCU Nationals in September, so I think all the SWAC schools will be down there.
Yes, indeed. I'm going to be watching that game. Yeah. Hopefully we can.
Is that here in Atlanta?
No, it's it used to be. It used to be. They moved it to Orlando to the USA National Campus. This will be the first year that it's in Orlando. It's normally right there in Atlanta.
Wow, yeah, I went to it last year, so that'll be great. That'll be great.
Yeah, in Orlando, go play tennis with Mickey Mouse.
So. Yeah, it's at the resort. It's at the Universal Disney Resort.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Kels, you have anything else for Mr. Towns?
I don't have anything else.
Well, Mr. Towns will tell you the same thing I tell everybody else that comes on Black College Experience, and also what I told your sister. You are now family. So you don't have to have an invite to come on Black College Experience. Anytime you want to come on and talk tennis, if you have some exciting news, you want to talk about your program. I mean, when we're on the air Sunday nights at 7 p.m. to 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, man, feel free to call in and fellowship with us and share your news. Talk about whatever you want to talk about in the tennis world or just sports in general. I'm glad to have you back at Morgan State. I'm glad to have you out recruiting and bringing in awesome student athletes for your institution, and you're doing so well that you're going to force other tennis programs to try to mimic what you're doing. And if teams start to mimic what you're doing, that's going to bode well for tennis in the MEAC and tennis and HBCUs across the HBCU.
Yes, sir. That is the plan. That is the plan.
So we want to thank you for joining us
tonight.
Thank you
very much. Thank you very much for having me. I really appreciate it.
We're going to have that brother-sister back and forth interview one day where we're talking about tennis and, let you two towns go at it.
Anytime.
Thank you so much, Coach.
You're welcome. Have a good evening.
You too. Good night.
All right. Kels, man, he is amazing. I mean, he's young. He has a long way to go. I mean,
the funny thing you said was when you looked at the pictures, you had to look because he was like a student. I said the same thing when I looked at the pictures. I didn't know where the coach was.
Yeah,
I had to look at the pictures a few times. He's very young. I mean, he just graduated. Well, he graduated almost 10 years ago, but he very young, very young. He graduated in 2009, so very young.
So, I mean, I hope he stays at Morgan State like Coach Williams has, and like Coach Williams trying to get that 40th championship. I hope he stays at Morgan State. Coach Williams out of SAU. I hope he stays at Morgan State for the foreseeable future.
Right.
And just builds a legacy. I mean, when you build a legacy like he could potentially build, and then say, I did it at my home school, I think that's awesome.
Right.
But before we get ready to get out of here, got a couple minutes left. I wanted to talk about what I would get into before Coach Towns came on. We have some athletic directors on the move. Most notably, my homeboy and Valley State alum Ashley Robinson moves on from Prairie View, and he joins Jackson State. He's become the athletic director for his hometown college. I think that's amazing. I think Jackson State is going to benefit from Ashley's guidance in the athletic realm. He has done well at every stop he's done. You see what he's done Prairie View-wise, APR, facility-wise. I feel like this here. And I'm going to ask him when I get a chance to. Hopefully, like I said, we can get him on the show. What are you going to try and tackle the stadium issue for Jackson State? Because we saw what he did at Prairie View as far as stadium-wise. You know what I'm saying? We know Jackson State has been wanting the Dome Stadium. They now have an athletic director who has a history of getting a stadium built and updated, a tremendous stadium at Prairie View, and just improving facilities overall. I don't want him to beat up on our Delta Devils too bad, but unfortunately, that's a part of the job. Also, at Miles, Reginald Ruffin was named the new athletic director at Miles College. He would take the helmet of Golden Bears. He spent the last 7 years as the head football coach for the Golden Bears, and he will remain in that position. So that's unique. I mean, he's the athletic director and he's the football coach. So if he starts having losing seasons, is he gonna fire himself for being the football coach? I think that's awesome. What do you think about that, Kels?
I think it's awesome when you can work a double situation. We've seen situations where it can work double. So I think that's a great thing. If anything happens, you just move to the next spot. It's not like you're going anywhere. So I think it's good. It shows your strength in the capacity that you can do both.
Well, and here's the thing. The person he replaced was Philip Wallace Jr., who was also the women's basketball coach, and he will remain the women's basketball coach. So Miles has a history of allowing people to serve dual roles. That also helps you out when it comes to budget. Because you don't have to have another separate full-time individual being athletic director and then having to pay your coaches. So who knows? Maybe Miles has inside track on how to run an athletic department by having a position coach. I know in the SEC you can't do that because the baseball coach for Mississippi State became the athletic director. He had to give up being the baseball coach. But at Miles, they're doing it. And the last was kind of surprising, but this gentleman has a tremendous background in athletics, and this is at Delaware State. And Dr. David Scott Gines is named the new athletic director at Delaware State, and he has a tremendous background. He served as the vice president for intercollegiate athletics and campus recreation at Texas A&M Kingsville. In the Lone Star Conference, he was the school's vice president for institutional advancement from July 2009 to December 2012. You look at his resume. He has the ability to help out Delaware State in a number of capacities, but serving as the athletic director and also being able to advise in other means of a college institution. I think that is going to be awesome for Delaware State. I can't wait to see what he does at Delaware State to try to revive the athletic department, because Delaware State hasn't really been winning in a lot of sports lately. So we're going to see how hiring Dr. Scott Gines or David Scott Gines will bode for Delaware State. That's all I have for athletic directors moving on. I'm tremendously excited for Ashley being able to go home. I just think that's awesome. Jackson State's going to benefit greatly from this, I think. Kels?
All right, let's get out of here because we're at that point. We're over that point. Two other changes that we did go over here in the GCAC. Coach Frank Burnell has resigned as Edward Waters College Athletics men's head basketball coach.
Oh, wow.
He was there for 7 seasons. So, of course, the search for a new coach began immediately. So we are on the prowl, for another coach. And last but not least, I got to do this. I would be remiss if I don't do these last two things. Shout out to Alabama State for getting their 5th consecutive Commissioner's Cup.
5 times.
Once again, I say it, the future is female. AD Jennifer Lynn holding the cup. And then the last but not least, Coach Jessica Kearns from Tennessee State University. This is a high accolade. She is headed to be the first female to lecture at the renowned Barton Clinic in Sweden. The
awesome.
First female to lecture at the clinic. Never had a female. And then you get an HBCU female. So congratulations to her, head coach of Tennessee State women's basketball.
That's amazing. All right, and we're going to be getting ready to wrap it up and let everyone know we will be off the air next week for Father's Day. So I want to wish a happy early Father's Day in heaven to my fathers, William Granville Tillman and Cornelius Lamar Thomas. Thank you for instilling in me the foresight and the ability to become a great father. And we'll be visiting my father's grave sites this coming Father's Day weekend. So everybody out there in Black College Experience Land, have a good night and a happy Father's Day next week, Kels.
And same thing here. Happy Father's Day to you, of course. Happy Father's Day to my father, which is also in heaven, and to everyone. We just have to be mindful of the ones that are here. But we also have to be mindful of the ones that have gone on, that were great fathers, that have done so much. And same thing, my father, the only thing I could ever say, because it was 2 years for my father that he passed away on Friday. And I always just say, my father would be very proud of the things that I've accomplished. So, again, happy Father's Day to you and everybody. Enjoy your next Sunday, please. And we'll catch y'all the Sunday after this.
All right. Good night, everybody.
Good night.